Welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into a story that could redefine the global landscape of artificial intelligence, and it happened in less than 72 hours. The US government issued a direct order to Anthropic, mandating an immediate suspension of access to their most advanced models, Mythos 5 and Fable 5, citing critical security vulnerabilities and national compliance concerns. Yet, despite this federal directive and the company's public apology for the disruption, a small but significant group of early adopters found themselves retaining full access to these preview systems while the rest of the world was locked out. Why would a tech giant ignore a presidential order? What does it mean that unauthorized users still have the keys to the kingdom? And most importantly, what happens next when the curtain falls on this high-stakes standoff between corporate innovation and national security? Stick around because we are breaking down exactly how this unfolded, why these specific models were targeted, and what this incident tells us about the future of AI governance. The timeline here is nothing short of cinematic. Anthropic launched Mythos 5 and Fable 5 with a promise that these systems represented the next leap in reasoning capabilities. But within 3 days, the narrative shifted dramatically. The US administration, led by President Donald Trump, moved swiftly to protect what they deemed dangerous technology from foreign nationals, both inside and outside the United States borders. This wasn't a suggestion. It was an executive directive requiring Anthropic to pull the plug on these models for everyone except a select few. The immediate result was chaos in the preview environment. Anthropic publicly acknowledged that they had to abruptly disable Fable 5 and Mythos 5 to ensure compliance, issuing an apology for the disruption to their customers. They framed this as a necessary precaution against a jailbreak vulnerability that could enable dangerous behaviors if left unchecked. However, the reality on the ground was more complex. While the general public and standard testing partners were locked out, reports surfaced indicating that some firms chosen specifically in the early rounds of testing by Anthropic PBC had preserved their access. These weren't just lucky users. They were part of a closed loop that seemingly operated outside the immediate reach of the shutdown order. The contrast between the official shutdown and the lingering access for these specific entities created an immediate point of friction, raising questions about how granularly such security orders can actually be enforced across complex global supply chains. To understand why this caused such a stir, we have to talk about what Mythos 5 actually is. Anthropic describes these models as possessing capabilities so powerful they could enable dangerous applications if not strictly controlled. The term jailbreak vulnerability suggests that the models are so advanced that traditional safety guardrails can be bypassed by sophisticated prompts. This is the fear driving the administration's hand. A system smart enough to argue its way out of safety protocols or generate code that bypasses security measures on a massive scale. When you combine this technical capability with the geopolitical context, the stakes become incredibly high. The order specifically mentioned keeping these models out of the hands of foreign nationals. This implies that the risk assessment wasn't just about individual misuse, but about state-level actors or international competitors gaining access to what is effectively superintelligent reasoning engines. The fact that a small group of unauthorized users still access the model despite precautions taken by Anthropic highlights a critical gap in current security infrastructure. It suggests that once a model reaches this level of sophistication, preventing data leakage or unauthorized access becomes exponentially harder than building it in the first place. The technology is moving faster than the legal frameworks designed to contain it. Now we get to the most intriguing part of the story, those early users who kept their keys. How did they bypass a federal order? The answer likely lies in the nature of the preview program itself. These firms were chosen specifically by Anthropic before a wider release, meaning they signed non-disclosure agreements and accepted terms that might have included jurisdictional complexities or data residency clauses that made an immediate global shutdown technically difficult to execute instantly. This creates a gray zone where corporate contracts collide with government mandates. If these early partners had their infrastructure hosted in specific regions or under specific legal jurisdictions, the immediate disable order might have faced logistical hurdles that allowed some access to persist for days after the directive was issued. This isn't just about technical bugs, it's a diplomatic and operational chess match. The fact that Anthropic apologized for the disruption while simultaneously admitting these users still Had access paints a picture of a company trying to walk a tightrope between satisfying their U.S. government partners and maintaining relationships with high-value enterprise clients who are already embedded in their ecosystem. It raises the question, is this a temporary glitch, or is it a permanent exemption that sets a dangerous precedent? So what does this mean for the rest of us watching from the sidelines? This incident signals a massive shift in how AI will be regulated globally. We are moving away from a model where companies can launch and iterate at lightning speed to an era of compliance-first deployment, where government orders can halt progress in real time based on perceived risk. The ability for unauthorized users to retain access shows that the current security measures are reactive rather than proactive. For developers and businesses planning to integrate these next-generation models into their workflows, this is a wake-up call. You cannot assume that safety protocols will hold up against geopolitical pressures or sophisticated adversarial attacks. The incident with Mythos 5 demonstrates that the cost of innovation now includes the potential for sudden, government-mandated obsolescence. Furthermore, it highlights the vulnerability of distributed systems. If even one node in a global network retains access due to contractual loopholes, the integrity of the entire security posture is compromised. In conclusion, the standoff over Anthropic's Mythos 5 and Fable 5 models reveals the intense friction between rapid technological advancement and rigid national security protocols. We've seen how a simple 3-day window turned into a complex geopolitical issue, with some users retaining access despite federal bans, creating a new class of risk in the AI landscape. The key takeaway is clear. As AI becomes more powerful, the gatekeeping mechanisms will only become stricter and more unpredictable. If you found this deep dive into the future of AI governance interesting, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more updates on how technology shapes our world. Drop a comment below with your thoughts. Do we need tighter restrictions now, or is innovation stifled by fear? Let's discuss in the comments.